What's up everyone on the internet? Thank you for making this video part today. I am so excited to upload this one for you guys because this video we're going to be taking a movie that just makes you feel heroic, and that is Captain America, the First Avenger. So to finish up the month of August, after talking about Iron Man and Thor, it's finally time to talk about Captain America, which is funny because out of the three heroes, I've always preferred Iron Man, Thor, and then Captain America. But when I look at the movies, I actually prefer the Captain America movies a lot more because while I love Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2 was actually pretty good, we also got Iron Man 3. And while I love the first Thor movie, we also got Thor the Dark World, and then we got Ragnarok, which is freaking fun. And then we also got Love and Thunder, which was kind of iffy. But when you look at the Captain America movies, we got the First Avenger, the Winter Soldier, and then we got Civil War. And with every entry in this trilogy, the movies just kept getting better and better and better. But we're not here to talk about the other movies, we're here to talk about the first movie. So let's talk about Captain America, the First Avenger. So this movie came out back in 2011 and was the 5th installment of the MCU, but was also the final installment of Phase 1, right before we got the Avengers. And going into this movie, I sort of had a general knowledge of who Captain America was. I knew that the majority of the movie was going to be set in World War II because for me, all I knew was that Captain America fought Nazis. However, I was unaware of what Hydra was at the time, which ultimately leads us into Red Skull, played by the incredible Hugo Weaving. And right off the bat, you can already tell that this is a man on a tight schedule based on his mannerisms and posture. And I love how he has a single vision in mind. And whatever he does is to work towards that vision. And he will do whatever it takes to get to that goal. And it's this sort of mental state of his that I like so much because he really thinks that he is a god among insects. And it's this sort of nature that drives him from beginning to end. I can go on forever on how much I like Red Skull as a villain, but let's talk about Cap for a second. Going in this movie, I love how this story takes you back all the way to World War II, where you're seeing every single man sign up to join the army, and while Steve Rogers wants to join the army, he really can't based on his health stature as the little man. Well, that all changes when he becomes the world's very first super soldier, and even though he's been given this immense power, he still stays true to his character where, as he mentions in Civil War, if something goes wrong, he will not turn a blind eye. And the more that I think about it, he really is one of those guys you want as your best friend because if you were tying your shoe, he would stop and wait for you. And this is all possible because of the casting of Chris Evans, who's been known for playing a lot of wide range of characters in other comic book movies like Push, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, The Losers, and most famously, Fantastic Four. So it's kind of crazy to know that this is a guy who was once known for playing the Human Torch, now be only known for playing Captain America. Anyway, going back to the movie, I love how even though this is a superhero film, it's also a war film as well, where we get to watch Captain America and his Howling Commandos go from one Hydra base to the next and take out each and every one of them before ultimately going straight to the source within the third act, which is where we get Captain America versus Red Skull. It's also pretty crazy because looking back at this film, there are some things that tie heavily into the Infinity Saga. Like for starters, we have the Tesseract, which is the centerpiece of this first Captain America movie, but also holds the Space Stone, which plays a very big part in Infinity War and Endgame. And then you also got Red Skull, who also plays a role in those movies as well. So it's kind of crazy how at the start of this movie, it was solely about ending World War II. But then there are also some Easter eggs and little subtle hints that lead to some cosmic level events that we see way later on down the line. But anyway, one of the other things I love about this movie so much is the sacrifice that Captain America is willing to make to save lives. I mean, he is the embodiment of all the good things that makes America a symbol of freedom and prosperity, which ultimately means doing the right thing. And we definitely see that in the third act when we watch him give up his own life to save the world. Or so we thought. This is the part of the movie that I was so excited for because as someone who grew up watching the old Avenger cartoon movies, I knew that at some point we were going to have to put Cap on ice. And watching him wake up in the modern world, there's a sense of confusion and bewilderment as you see him run through modern day Times Square because throughout the movie, we've been so accustomed to seeing 1940s New York, and to go to the end of the movie and see a more modern day New York City, it's so jarring because we feel like we're in Captain America's boots when we see how drastic things have changed over the last several decades. So overall, I really enjoy this film. One of the reasons why I like it so much is because of the World War II setting, given how out of all the movies we've seen in the MCU, This one actually feels like a period movie when you see how the choice of color palette really affects the camera, hair, and makeup, making this film stand out. One of the reasons why I also like it so much is because you feel a sense of heroicness inside you when you see how this little guy became one of the most iconic superheroes in Marvel history. Well, that's going to do it for this video, guys. That was my overall view on Captain America, the First Avenger. If you like what you saw, hit the subscribe button so you always updates from this channel. I'll see you next time with a brand new video. Bye-bye.